Hello everybody, it's Foxy speaking, and welcome to another episode of Foxy's Fun Inspirational Chats. And today I will be your host. I really was aiming to get one done about just over a week ago, but never mind, I didn't. Here it is, better late than never, I suppose, in the first Foxy's Fun Inspirational Chats episode for 2024. Yes, and this episode is about a carpenter. A self-employed carpenter who had his own carpentry business. But he was aiming one day to have his own carpentry business one day. The carpenter's name was Christian the carpenter. Though he was mainly a sole trader carpenter, he was generally in high demand 5 days of the week, every year, and also for about 3 or 4 short hours on a Saturday too. So he was a busy carpenter in high demand. Generally from either the same clients, but he was fairly prone to getting up to 4 to 5 new clients every single month of the calendar year. And because he was in high demand, or fairly high demand, he was thinking of one day running his own carpentry business comprised of 2 or 3 carpenters to keep up with them demand, be it new trainee carpenters or carpenters who have been in the carpentry business or worked in the carpentry business or in the carpentry profession for no matter how many years long they've done it, But despite his busy, tight schedule, or sometimes fairly hectic working schedule, Christian was always friendly to his clients, and he was well liked by his clients. And his clients liked his sense of humour. And some of his very, very tall, 7-foot plus clients, if they needed new custom-made furniture, he would always tell them a funny joke regarding giants or dwarves, and sometimes they would just laugh their pants off or laugh wetting themselves with laughter. Christian was regarded by all his clients, whether tall, average height, fairly tall, extremely tall, quite tall, fairly tall, average height, or short, or tiny, they always regarded him as a wonderful, friendly, and funny carpenter, and also they described him as a very caring carpenter who cared a great deal for their essentialized needs when in the demands of needing furniture made for them and all that. He had private clients, but also he also accepted working contracts as well for shops that sold furniture. So it was safe to say that Christian was a busy carpenter as a man. His work week was over, and once his work week was over, having finished his 3-hour day on the Saturday, Christian was feeling rather worn out, and it wasn't always like him. It was like him in the last 6 or so months, or 6 to 12, 13 months. It was quite normal for him to feel a little more tired than normal, but he did not suffer stress as a result of the tiredness, much to his clients and his friends' surprise, as some of his friends suffered from stress after a busy, hectic work week. So, Christian, he decided to cancel his the invite from meeting up with his friends because he needed to come up with a strategy. "I'm sorry, my good friends," he said when talking to one of his friends on the phone. "I'm afraid poor Christian has to pull out of the friendship gathering today because I have to figure out a work strategy. But we will certainly meet up one day, and I'll tell you if the work strategy succeeded. Goodbye for now, take care, your good friend Christian. Goodbye, my good old friend." he said, and he sadly put the telephone down. He felt sad he couldn't meet his friends after a new big long work week, but he knew he had to cancel it for the better so that he could plan his strategic work plans as a means to make his workplace more efficient and to make his means of his profession more good, and so that he could keep up with the demands of his clients and work contracts for private or independently owned furniture, retail companies and all the rest of the things. His phone rang again. He picked up the phone. Hello? It was one of his good friends. Oh, Charles! Hello there! Charles was Christian's good old friend and also a carpenter. And knowing that Charles was a carpenter, as they both did carpentry together as they both trained together as carpenters back in their days of their youth. And once they'd finished their training, though they didn't work together, they wanted to work as sole trading carpenters. But despite that, they always remained close friends. And so Christian spoke to him about his strategy and his plans for running his own business. Charles agreed with them. Charles agreed that Christian may need help and believed that running his own business, having some carpentry helpers, would be a good idea. Do come round, Charles, if you want to discuss the strategy in greater depth, Christian said. Okay, Christian, I shall see you soon, Charles said whilst on the telephone. Goodbye for now. Goodbye for now, Charles. See you in a moment. And so Christian put his telephone down and Charles put his telephone down too. About a good half an hour or so later, Charles arrived knocking on Christian's house door. Ah, Christian, nice to see you, they said as they both shook hands when greeting each other, and then Christian respectfully welcomed Charles into his home. They sat down and they had a discussion. What I would recommend you do, Christian, is invest in a bigger workshop and put a special advert out hiring some clients. And put an advert saying that you need to hire a carpenter or a carpenter needed, whether it be trainee or a carpenter with a long time of experience. And as Charles began telling Christian more and more of his recommendations and more advice on what to do for running his a bigger carpentry business, Christian listened deeply with great depths of interest and concentration. He knew his friend Charles was right. He knew that he was going to need some carpenter helpers to help him keep up with his work demand for his clients and also for his contracts with furniture retail companies that need furniture made by carpenters. Before long, their conversation was over. And once they discussed the work strategy, Christian, who had also taken a great deal of notes as to what to do whilst listening to his friend's advice, he gave his friend Charles a nice straight glass of red wine. They tapped it together, but obviously that was the only glass Charles was going to have because he could not have too much before driving, and he could not be over a certain limit of alcohol content before driving back home. And after the glass of wine Charles respectfully said his goodbye to Christian and he went home. And Christian took into greater depths of consideration where to invest in a bigger carpentry workshop. Later on, he went to his carpentry workshop and began to make a sign that said, "For sale." He made the "for sale" sign and put a hammering it next to the workshop. Once he put the sold sign beside his little workshop, an elderly looking man walked over and immediately took interest in it. "Oh, hello," Christian said as he looked towards the older man. Is anything okay?" he asked. "Oh, hi sir," said the elderly man. I'm interested in buying what you're selling." "What is this you're selling?" "Oh, this is an old carpentry workshop. Are you a carpenter by all means?" No, but actually I know somebody who is a carpenter. And he's soon gonna go, but he's winding down because he's quite old and he's nearing retirement age, and he wants to work for himself in his last few years of his working life," said the elderly man. "I'm retired myself, and I've never done carpentry, but my good friend, who's not yet at retirement age, but will be before long semi-retired, he would be very, very interested in your business. He would be very, very interested in this, in your workshop, and he'd be interested in buying it." "Well, okay then. Could you give me your friend's name and his contact details, please?" Christian asked the elderly man. "Okay." And so the elderly man got out his piece of paper and began reading out his friend's contact details, and then said his friend's name. Christian wrote everything down in his notebook so that he could keep a note of things. "Excellent. Well, I'll give your good friend a ring. And what's your name, sir?" "Oh, it's Russell Manners. But do call me Mr. Manners, please." "Okay, thank you, Mr. Manners," he said, as they both respectfully shook hands and bidded each other a farewell goodbye. But before Russell Manners was about to go, he ended up giving Christian his contact details. Should he ever need him should Russell ever need Christian as a means of making specially made furniture. Okay, okay, thank you, Mr. Manners, Christian said. "Do keep in touch for whenever you need some specially made furniture or new furniture, because I can always specially make it for you." Of course, Sir Christian," said Mr. Manners, as they both shook hands once again. "I've got to go now because my wife will be wondering where I am. Goodbye for now, Mr. Christian," Mr. Manners said as he respectfully and slowly walked off to the bus stop as a means to get back home. "Goodbye, Mr. Manners," Christian called, and he waved until Mr. Manners was out of sight. Though he found somebody who had potential interest in buying his small workshop, he decided to wait around for about 5 minutes in case anybody else suddenly appeared and took an interest in buying his small workshop. But realistically, he knew it would not happen, because when he put in the "for sale," he had to put in contact and in his telephone number. because he knew he had to put him for sale, and he would have to go to an agent to let them know that he was selling his workshop, so that the agency that specialised in the business of where people could buy workshops, whether it be for carpentry or any form of business use, he would have to go to them so that people would know where it is. But he was going to wait until the new week to do that. But when he got home, Christian got home, his telephone was ringing. He quickly rushed over to his telephone and said, "Hello?" The person on the telephone was Mr. Manners' friend. He had taken an interest in buying in Christian's workshop. Oh, wonderful. Gosh, what a surprise. This happened more quickly. What a surprise to hear from you. Yes. For whenever you're ready, as soon as possible, I would certainly be more than happy to sell you my former carpentry workshop. Okay, goodbye for now. Yes, and I'll see you, yes, this evening sounds okay, after tea, okay? Speak to you later, goodbye, he said to Mr. Manners' friend, and he put the telephone down. He cooked up his supper, and after he ate his supper, he went back out to meet up with Mr. Manners' friend. He turned up at the house, and he respectfully knocked on the door. "Oh, hello, you must be a Christian, aren't you?" said the older man who opened the door. Yes, I am Christian. You must be Mr. Manners' friend, are you? Who's this, Russell Manners? Oh, yes, I'm his good friend. Nice to meet you, I'm Peter Smith, said the elderly man as he respectfully gave Christian a good strong handshake. Well, please, welcome, come on in, Christian said. And as they walked in and sat in the living room, they sat down, but Christian got a little bit distracted by a lady sitting in a chair knitting with a wool and needles. Oh, I forgot to say, Christian, this is my wife. This is my wife, Joan. Nice to meet you, Joan, Christian said as he shook Joan's hand. How do you do, Christian? Peter was just telling me about you, and he's taken an interest in buying your smaller workshop, which you do for your carpentry business, is it? As Peter is a carpenter too. Oh yes, Joan, Christian said in response to Joan. I'm very much carpenter. I'm a dedicated carpenter, if you like. I'm moving my business to a bigger workshop now as a means to keep up with increased demand, because my demand is increasing more and more by the month, and I'm going to need to invest in a bigger workshop and have some helpers, other carpenters to help me as a means of keeping up with demand and things. So this is why Peter has invited me over, so that we can discuss a good business deal on him buying my former workshop from me. Sounds good, Joan said in response. I hope your business deal works out okay for you both. And so Christian and Peter began to discuss business and talked business as a means of making a deal and selling the workshop. After a good long hour and a half, they came to an agreement. And so Peter Smith got out his checkbook and wrote a check of how much he was going to sell, and how much Christian had charged him for selling the workshop. Peter gave his check of his selling fee when purchasing, as a means of purchasing the workshop, and gave the check respectfully to Christian. Thanks, Peter, that was a very good deal. Yes, and I shall be moving out all of my things by tomorrow in my big van, and you should be in the and you should be having the my former workshop by Monday. Sounds good, Peter said. Thank you very much for a good deal. That was good business, Peter said. Thank you, Peter, Christian said in response. That was good business too, I believe, and that was certainly great teamwork. And so Peter and Christian shook hands, and as well Joan also shook hands with Christian, and Christian respectfully left their house after having come to a good business deal agreement for selling his former carpentry workshop. The weekend passed, but Christian was busy all weekend moving out all of his working project and his machinery, getting it all moved out of his former small carpentry workshop. He got everything out so that Peter would be able to have room to put in his carpentry machinery for when he was due to start, and get the workshop ready for whenever he needed to use it. Before long the Monday arrived, and just as Peter was about to head off to the agency to purchase a new and bigger carpentry workshop, he came to say hello to Peter, who had got some delivery people helping move his carpentry furniture into the workshop Christian had sold to him. Thank you very much for everything, Christian, Peter said. You are certainly a very nice new friend, and I'm pleased to call you my new friend. Please do come, if you ever want to come over for a meal or anything, do feel free to come over, Peter said. Well, thank you, Peter. Good luck with starting your carpentry business, won't you? And good luck for your retirement in the future. May your carpentry business go well in your last years of your work. Oh, well, thank you, Christian. That was very, very kind of you, Peter said. I mean, I am old, but I have to carry on for a few more years before I'm eligible for full retirement. But I think my last few years of retirement, it would be good for me, I suppose, because I'll be helping people. Take care, Christian, won't you? And good luck with your business expansion. Thank you, Peter, and good luck with your business starting. And so they both respectfully waved to each other, Peter and Christian walked off, walked his way to his car to drive to the agency. He parked his car, walked into the agency building, and the agency showed him a great many options of workshops about which one he could buy. He looked through the booklet steadily, methodically and carefully so that he could weigh in and examine which workshop he would need to purchase. After a good half an hour of looking through the booklet, he found the workshop that would be ideal for his business expansion. The agency gave him a charging fee, and then Christian got out his booklet, his checkbook, wrote down the price they'd charged for him, and handed over the check to the cashier, and the cashier took the check in. And once the deal was done, the workshop had been purchased. Once the workshop had been purchased, the next day came, and Christian got some delivery men in a large delivery lorry to move his carpentry machinery and into the workshop, and Christian himself moved his carpentry projects on wooden equipment and wooden furniture and other wooden things he'd been in the process of making before selling up his former carpentry workshop. Before long, the renovation and all the work was done on the carpentry workshop, and before he knew it, before his very eyes, Christian got some telephone calls from some carpenters who expressed desire working for him. Christian was delighted with the phone call and promised that he would meet them as soon as he could at his new workshop, and before long they would get started. Christian was impressed with the carpenters who were now going to be working for him. He was impressed with their performance on what they were able to do and what they did with the carpentry work and what they made, and one of the carpenters even finished off some of his working projects more quickly than he'd expected to, and he didn't even expect the person to help him, but it was something he appreciated. Thank you, you two. We start work tomorrow, and now that seeing one of you here, has finished off some of the projects I was already working on, that will be able to be delivered before long to some of the furniture retail shops and some of the shops that specialise in selling wooden stuff. Thank you, you two. We'll see you tomorrow for a good day's work. Thank you, Christian, said the carpenters who were now going to be working for him. See you tomorrow. Goodbye. Christian shook their hands and respectfully waved to them as they walked away from his new, bigger workshop. Christian went back home, and then he fell happily to sleep, dreaming of what a successful business expansion his carpentry business was going to be in the future years to come, now that he's got two carpenters who would be happily working for him. The end. Thanks everybody, all indeed, for watching, and there will certainly be another Robert the Cat episode sometime throughout the 2024 calendar year, and also do look out for an adventure story. This will be in either anywhere between episode 105 and episode 110. There will be an adventure episode, and the adventure episode will be 1 hour plus long. It will be well over 1 hour long. So if there is an episode that's going to be over 1 hour long, and it's either anywhere between episode 105 and episode 110, that will be the adventure episode. Thanks everybody for watching, and I shall certainly see you in the very next episode. Ta-ta, another time. From Foxy.